Good morning. It's November 28th, and this is your daily brief in science. Here's everything you need to know. A German ESA astronaut is slated to fly on a moon mission under NASA's Artemis program, and ESA's leader confirms the first European cruise on a moon mission will include German, French, and Italian astronauts, beginning with Germany. Europe's space budget for 2026 to 2028 rises to €22.25 billion, a 32% increase over 2022 to 2024 and about a 17% real terms boost after inflation. The Bremen Ministerial Conference sets a broader budget and outlines priorities across science, exploration, and technology, while signaling a tilt toward dual use and potential military applications under the EOGS program. The plan emphasizes Earth observation, disaster response, navigation, and other flagship programs, framing space as a societal value with wide-ranging benefits. Europe faces competition from private players like SpaceX and Blue Origin, and the discussions occur in a context where space intersects economics, security, climate action, and digital sovereignty. Space debris and crowded orbits are rising concerns as more satellites launch, with ESA pursuing debris reduction concepts and advocating for global regulation and responsible end-of-life disposal. Geopolitical pressures, including Russia's invasion of Ukraine and reliance on U.S. launch providers, push Europe toward greater autonomy in space access and security, highlighting reduced access to Soyuz and growing reliance on SpaceX. The budget and policy discussions reflect Europe's move toward self-sufficiency in launches and a more autonomous space strategy after the loss of Soyuz capabilities, with partnerships with SpaceX under strained conditions. ERS funding is part of the Earth observation, navigation, and secure communications budgets, with some elements oversubscribed to allow progress. The space plan centers on autonomy, competitiveness, planetary protection, Earth observation, and ongoing missions like Artemis, alongside climate monitoring and weather satellites. Key aims include expanding Earth observation and navigation capabilities, reducing dependence on external actors, and maintaining participation in the ISS and lunar exploration through Artemis, with Copernicus and future EO driving next-generation missions. Europe aims to strengthen dual-use space capabilities with the European Resilience from Space Initiative, providing high-resolution imagery, secure connectivity, and new navigation services, supported by funding and extended subscription windows. Germany pushes a security-focused approach in space, calling for reassessment of dual-use implications, while leadership shifts reflect Europe's broader move toward autonomy in space policy, and officials emphasize space activities as critical for daily life, safety, and defense. A fresh genome study rewrites the timeline of cat domestication, suggesting domestic cats entered Europe from North Africa around 2,000 years ago during early Roman times. Earlier European and Turkish specimens are mostly European wildcats with signs of interbreeding with African wildcats before true domestication. The work challenges the Levant origin theory, implying a slower, later arrival of domestic cats into Europe and beyond. Researchers describe a complex, regionally varied domestication process rather than a single origin, aided by nuclear DNA analysis that offers finer lineage tracing beyond bone shape. The study, published in Science and Cell Genomics, used archaeological bone DNA dating to map domestication across Europe, North Africa, Anatolia, and Asia. Archaeological evidence hints at a broader introduction window, potentially up to 3,000 years ago for Europe, with gaps in ancient Egyptian DNA recovery underscoring the need for more samples. Previous mitochondrial DNA work pointed to a Neolithic Near Eastern arrival around 6,000 to 7,000 years ago, but this study relies on nuclear DNA for higher resolution. The findings indicate multiple North African regions and cultures contributed to domestication, not a single center. Overall, genetic evidence redefines domestication as a later, multi-regional wave with varied interchanges. The Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Sciences provided key cat bone samples for the study, and analyses point to northern Africa, likely Egypt, as the origin rather than the Levant where early agriculture began. A warning from France's Institut Pasteur that bird flu could spark a pandemic worse than COVID-19 if it mutates to sustain human transmission. The medical director of Pasteur's Respiratory Infections Center warns that adaptation to mammals and humans could drive a severely impactful outbreak given the lack of existing human immunity. Experts say a mammal-adapted H5 virus could spread rapidly with minimal human immunity, potentially making it more severe than COVID-19. The piece places avian influenza in the broader context of zoonotic diseases and calls for proactive, data-driven public health responses to emerging threats. Health authorities say there is no crisis yet, but conditions for one exist as the virus spreads among animals, increasing the chance of future sustained human transmission. Preparedness remains essential, including early response plans, ready vaccine candidates, rapid manufacturing capability, and antiviral stockpiles. The World Organization for Animal Health notes the human pandemic risk remains low and that the world is better prepared than during COVID-19 with vaccines and antivirals available. There are advantages over COVID-19, including existing vaccine candidates, antivirals, and stockpiles that could be effective against avian influenza. Past human infections with H5 have mostly occurred through close contact with infected animals, with the first human case of H5N15 in Washington state this month, resulting in death. Bird flu has caused widespread culling and disruption of food supplies, while human infections remain rare so far. The current H5 strain has infected birds and some mammals, with human infections being rare and most past cases linked to contact with infected animals. There are currently no human antibodies against the H5 bird flu strain, unlike seasonal flu antibodies, underscoring vulnerability to spillover. Absence of antibodies highlights potential susceptibility relative to common flu strains. Scientists recognize that influenza can jump across species, enabling faster evolution and requiring vigilant surveillance. The warnings come amid concerns about animal reservoirs of avian influenza that could spill over to humans, posing a severe public health threat. 2.5 years of H5 circulation in wild birds have driven outbreaks in poultry and mammals, raising concerns about increased human exposure. Human infections have been reported across the Americas and Southeast Asia, but without sustained human-to-human transmission, the key concern remains mammalian adaptation enabling such transmission. Pasteur is actively monitoring H5 evolution, developing vaccine prototypes, and assisting global detection using its pandemic response experience, leveraging COVID-19 response expertise. World Health Organization data show nearly 1,000 human outbreaks since 2003, with about 48% mortality, highlighting the ongoing risk of avian influenza and the severity potential of zoonotic spillover. A new study points to long dry spells as a key factor in the slow decline of the Indus Valley civilization. The researchers identify 4 or more multi-decade droughts, each lasting about 85 years, between roughly 4,450 and 3,400 years ago. The final 113-year drought, from about 3,531 to 3,418 years ago, aligns with evidence of deurbanization and supports a gradual drop rather than a single collapse. A series of decades-long droughts reduced water availability and pushed populations away from major urban centers. The study combines climate modeling with proxy records to show a consistent pattern of hydrological stress that matches settlement shifts toward areas with closer access to water. Drought evidence comes from stalagmite and stalactite geochemistry and historical lake levels in northwest India, integrated with climate simulations. The hydrological model translates rainfall and temperature into changes in rivers and water sources, which are then compared with observed settlement patterns. Independent experts praise the study's sophisticated modeling and its contribution to understanding hydroclimate's role in ancient urban and agricultural changes. The findings also note that El Niño, the Atlantic multidecadal oscillation, and related sea surface temperature patterns may have driven the droughts, with feedbacks like vegetation loss and dust amplifying conditions. 3 global climate simulations consistently show rainfall declines from 5,000 to 3,000 years ago, indicating multi-century droughts and shifts in monsoon and winter rainfall as persistent signals. The authors suggest future work should incorporate evapotranspiration to better capture regional hydrology and acknowledge site biases and proxy-to-hydrology translation challenges while emphasizing broad agreement between models and speleothem data. A new Nature Communications study delivers the most complete view yet of how a self-splicing ribozyme folds and assembles, using an integrative approach to visualize intermediate states as it becomes catalytically active. Researchers combine cryo-EM, esa-boosts, RNA biochemistry and enzymology, image processing, and molecular simulations to capture the ribozyme's progressive self-assembly while avoiding kinetic traps. Experts say the work clarifies dynamic assembly at atomic detail and could influence RNA design, therapeutics, and nanotechnology, potentially accelerating RNA-based drug discovery. The study lays groundwork for AI-driven RNA structure prediction, offering datasets and benchmarks for future algorithms similar to an AlphaFold for RNA. By integrating experimental data with machine learning, the research could enable AI-based approaches to RNA structure prediction and model validation. esa-boosts data and molecular dynamics simulations reveal low-energy barriers between conformations, supporting smooth transitions and refining each structural frame for dynamic modeling. The combination of esa-boosts and MD simulations highlights conformational plasticity and enables accurate modeling of the ribozyme's dynamic transitions. Overall, the study delivers the most complete molecular film of RNA self-assembly to date and provides benchmarks for AI modeling and RNA engineering. The research connects the evolution of RNA-based life, noting group 2 introns as ancestors of the spliceosome, with practical implications for RNA design, therapeutics, and nanotechnology. Domain 1 acts as the central scaffold, coordinating the sequential joining of domains 2, 3, and 4 to prevent misfolding and ensure correct assembly of the catalytic ribozyme. Collaborations with EMBL Grenoble, CSSB Hamburg, and IIT provided advanced facilities and expertise in cryo-EM, image processing, and molecular simulations, enabling a high-resolution view of the assembly process. The study analyzes hundreds of thousands of RNA molecules to reconstruct intermediate conformations, enabled by novel cryo-EM image processing strategies that reveal fleeting frames static structures miss. This has been your Daily Brief in Science. To read more about these stories, follow the links in the episode bio. You can also subscribe to these updates via email at www.brief.news. For more daily podcasts about the topics you love, visit brief.news/podcasts. We'll be back Monday with everything you need to know.